Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I am starting a weekend reading vlog. So it is Friday, July 15th, I think. And I do have a few things I'm going to be working on this weekend, or things that I am doing. We have like a monthly ladies' night at our church, and tonight is that night. And then tomorrow I have a live for Dostoevsky's short story collection, A Bad Business. And then church on Sunday morning, and that's pretty much it. So I'm hoping I will get a decent amount read this weekend. I also have some bullet journaling to catch up on and might do a little homeschool planning as well. So just kind of a little hodgepodge of everything going on. Also laundry, so don't mind the laundry right behind me. So what am I reading this weekend? I am in the middle of a couple of books right now. The first one actually I'm close to being done with, and that's Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is the only book that I am reading for Jane Austen July, and hilariously enough, when I chose to read this book this year, I didn't know that there was going to be an adaptation coming out literally the same week that I was reading it. But there's a lot of controversy about it. So will I watch the adaptation? Maybe. I don't watch that much stuff in general, so it'll probably be a while till I watch it, but I am really enjoying this. I am actually not far from being done, so hopefully I will finish this either today or tomorrow. I am buddy reading this with Dia from Novel Idea and one of my subscriber buddies, Alyssa, and that's been really fun to chat with them about it. I have read this before, but in high school, and I don't remember anything about it. Like, I literally didn't even remember the main character's name or any of the situations surrounding it. I'm really loving Anne as a character. I feel like she is very selfless and kind, and everyone around her is very vain and proud and selfish. And the way that she handles everyone else is filled with so much grace and kindness, while still kind of, staying true to herself and her own values. She's not compromising on that, but her family is just a hot mess. Like, she has one sister who everything is worse for her than everyone else. Like, not only does she complain about everything, but everything's worse for her. We all know those people, right? Who are like, oh my gosh, when I have a sore throat, it's so much worse than everyone else's sore throats. She's that kind of a person. And then her older sister and her father, both very focused on status and all these kinds of things. And so at the beginning of the book, Anne's family is forced to rent out their home because their father has been mismanaging funds since his wife died. She was kind of the one that kept him in check, and she has died, I think, about 10 years previous at the start of this novel. So they have to rent out their home to people and find a new place to stay. And so it's following that whole family drama. And of course there's a romance because it's Jane Austen. But there's a lot of things in here that make me want to laugh, but also make me want to slap people. You know what I'm talking about, I'm sure, but I'm really enjoying this one. The other book that I'm currently reading right now, I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail, and it's not going to be one that I finish anytime soon. That's Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is a nonfiction book about changing your habits incrementally to make a system of change kind of for your life. And I am very much not a type A person, so the way that he is approaching changing habits, creating good new habits, stopping bad habits, all that kind of stuff is really like speaking to me and making it seem very achievable. So that's awesome. I am also buddy reading this with Angie from Literary Labors. She wanted to read this as well, and I was already reading it, so we decided to read it together. But I'm reading a chapter of this a day, so I really don't think I'm gonna probably update a whole lot while I'm reading. I think I'm only through chapter 5. Yes, chapter 5. So only that far in. So I'm not very far at all, but I'm loving it. It feels revolutionary the way that he is putting things. I have some other books sitting around that I may try to read, but I don't want to get too involved in something new unless I can finish it over the weekend, because I'm planning on starting The Way of Kings on Monday, and so I want to be able to devote time to that to finish it by the end of the month. That would give me like 2 weeks to do that, which feels achievable. So anyways, those are my plans. I'm sure I have like I said, I have books here, so I will probably pick up something once I have finished Persuasion, and I'll let you know what that is when I choose it. Hello, happy Saturday. I'm currently making bacon for BLT, so here sizzling in the background. That's what it is. I thought I would update you on my reading. It's been a really chill morning because my daughter's best friend invited her to go with her to a water park today, and my husband's working. So I have the whole house to myself, which I can't remember the last time that happened, and it's kind of exciting. So I've gotten caught up on a little housework, and I've worked on my bullet journal some while listening to the audiobook of The Two Towers, which I started that on our road trip to my parents, but my daughter just didn't want to listen to it as much. So I didn't get that far into it. I think I got a third of the way through it, and I was hoping that I'd get most or all of it listened to. So I listened to 2 chapters of that this morning while I was getting some stuff done, and that was really nice because it was uninterrupted. Yesterday, before our ladies meeting thing, I did finish Persuasion, and I really enjoyed this one. I think this is Austen's last work, and you can tell, I think. Partly because the protagonists are older, but also they're more mature, and I feel like the characters are very fleshed out in this. There were some beefs I had with it a little bit. It kind of wasn't a perfect one for me. I had a lot of people tell me that this is their favorite Jane Austen, and I don't know that it's mine. I'm working on rereading them because there's a lot of them that I don't remember much of. I remember Pride and Prejudice, Emma, and Sense and Sensibility pretty well, and didn't really remember the others. Last summer I read Northanger Abbey, and that's like in contention for the top spot for me, even though she wrote that one really young. So the characters definitely aren't as well fleshed out as they are in Persuasion, but I liked the story a lot and I liked the characters a lot. I did like this better than like my reread of Sense and Sensibility. I really enjoyed it. And I liked the story a lot, but there are people who were, billed as friends and doing the right thing and helping Anne, but I felt like their motivations weren't so great, and I didn't think that they needed to be portrayed as positively as they were, I guess. That's all I'm going to say without being too spoilery. Also, Anne had made a decision at some point that is referenced at the end of the story. She says she still felt like she made the right decision, even though she had regrets. And I don't know if I agreed that I think she made the right decision. Anyways, I still loved it. Those are like my very small criticisms of it. I had a blast reading it. It was a good time. After I finished Persuasion, because I finished that yesterday afternoon, I started The Black Pearl by Scott Odell. This is my pick for the Buzzwordathon. Technically for next month, I kind of swapped my books a little bit because this one is a book-related word in the title, and I'm reading the Poisonwood Bible, but I'm not starting it till the end of the month. Most of it will probably be read in August, so this is August prompt for the Buzzwordathon. So I read this. It's less than 100 pages. I finished it last night. It was incredibly underwhelming to me, and I didn't really enjoy hardly any aspect of it, and the only reason I didn't DNF it is because it's like 100 pages. Yeah, it's exactly 100 pages long. That's the only reason why I didn't, because I'm like, well, this is really fast reading and it will count for a bingo square on my summer book bingo. That's the only reason why I finished it. I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling it. So it's about this kid whose father is like a pearl diver / merchant, and he finds out about this pearl that's called like the Pearl of Heaven, and it's like this magnificent big pearl that everyone's looking for or hopes to find someday. And this boy is determined to find it, and he does. I mean, I guess that happens like halfway through the book, so maybe that's spoilery, but on the back it says that he finds it. This book is so short, it's so easy to spoil it. And there's like this manta that they call Manta Diablo, who apparently it's his pearl. It's a whole thing. I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird story, and I didn't really care about the characters, and it's hard to care about a character when their book is so short like this. But also it's kind of weird because it's a middle grade. I basically can't believe that this is a Newbery Honor book. And I think that maybe it's just not my kind of book. I do feel like some of the descriptions were good, but that's about all I had going for it. I can't see young kids loving this book, to be totally honest, which is a shame because I remember loving The Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell when I was a kid. And The Black Pearl just was very meh for me. I just was not engaged in it at all. The main character, his arc was just kind of weird. And also he's like 16 and has become a man. And now he's able to do stuff with his father's business and stuff. And that's when the story begins. And it just is a weird age range for a protagonist of a middle grade too. So he read a lot younger than 17 or 16, I mean, as well. So there's that, but I finished it, so I can put it on my bingo board. I am currently reading Snow White with Red Hair, which is a manga, as you can see. I am not hardly in it at all, so I'll probably read some of this today, and I am about to have my live for A Bad Business, which I'm super excited about. Really excited to talk about those short stories. Absolutely enjoyed that book so much. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's on the docket for this afternoon. I'm also probably going to do some other things since my daughter isn't home. I'm kind of torn between whether or not I want to like deep clean her room or work on homeschool planning. Or maybe just read. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'll decide after the live stream, but I'm going to go have some lunch. So I'm doing some homeschool planning and I'm really excited because I am printing out some artwork because we study 3 artists a year, like 1 artist per term. We study their works of art and everything. So I was printing out because our first term will be Caspar David Friedrich, which don't really know much about him except that he is German and was in the Romantic time period. But I printed out this work called Chalk Cliffs on Rügen. And I got really excited because on the Penguin's Classic Edition, this is the cover of Mysteries of Udolpho, which is for sure one of my favorite books of the year so far. So I got really excited to see that I recognized that work of art from an artist whose name I did not recognize at all. Reading update time. I am sitting outside, so air conditioner's running, so hopefully that's not super loud in the background. I did finish Snow White with the Red Hair, and I really like fairy tale retellings, but I was super underwhelmed by this, honestly. I feel like I was missing something. I didn't love the art style because there would be pages where they would kind of like be zoomed in on different parts of like the same person doing something at the same time. So like their feet when they're standing somewhere, and that their hand is like tapping, like fingers are tapping up against the surface at the same time. And I don't know, it just felt disjointed to me. So I didn't love that, but I was hoping I would love the story because I love fairy tale retellings. And I don't know, just kind of ambivalent about it. It was just like, just not, I don't know. It's not something I think I'm interested in continuing the series, I guess. I'll just say that. It wasn't terrible, but it just didn't connect with me, I guess. Then last night, I started reading The Edge of Belonging by Amanda Cox. This is not something that was on my TBR, Not something I mentioned at all. I was looking for something that I could hopefully maybe finish this weekend so I can start Way of Kings tomorrow, and I'm already this far in it. It's very easy to read. This is a Christian fiction, and it is dual timeline, but it's not really historical fiction because one of the timelines takes place in the 90s and one current day. And basically both the timelines have the same characters in it. So I like that because I know that they'll be very connected, because that's sometimes an issue that I have with dual timeline books, is because usually one is a historical time period and one is in the future, and a lot of times you don't need both storylines. One feels pretty superfluous. So in this case, the modern day is following this girl Ivy Rose, who her grandmother has passed away, and so she's trying to kind of unearth some things that her grandmother wanted to tell her about her birth, because she knows she's adopted, but she doesn't know anything about her birth family or really how she came to be adopted or anything about the first few months of her life. And then the past is basically about Ivy Rose also, you can tell, because this homeless man finds a baby girl and decides he's going to take care of it. So I'm assuming the two storylines will eventually converge to where it will tell us what happened in the past that she needs to know. It is very emotional. It's written very emotionally, a lot of really raw things in it. I can see times in my life where I would not enjoy reading this, but I am enjoying it right now. I will also say that infertility is a very, very strong part of this story as well. So if that's something that would be upsetting to you, I just want to put that out there, because I have struggled with infertility and there are times when I can't read something like that. So I'm only sharing that just so that way you can know if that's something that bothers you too. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't really have any plans for today. My daughter is at a friend's house, so I'm probably gonna go read this afternoon. It sounds like a really great choice. We already had church this morning, and then my husband and I got Mexican, and now I'm tired. I'm ready to go lay down and read. Monday morning, and just like always, I have to do one more update because I finished The Edge of Belonging last night. And I kind of have this preconceived notion in my head about Christian fiction, and so I usually don't read it anymore, to be honest, because a lot of it is incredibly formulaic and the relationships are really cheesy a lot of times, and oftentimes either the Christian element is barely in there or it kind of feels forced, like they had to put it in there so that way it would actually qualify as a Christian fiction. None of those objections applied to this book. I'm so glad that I read it, because I don't know, it just so deeply impacted me. This book so beautifully explores what it means to be abandoned, what it means to be loved and worthy of love, to find a place to belong, just such beautiful found family in this book, and I love that in general. I love found family in books a lot. I felt like the characters were so well developed, because that's another complaint that I have a lot about Christian fiction, is that the character development is not very good. A lot of times they feel like cardboard cutouts, and that was not the case in this one either. I will say that it handles some really heavy things. So I mentioned yesterday that infertility was a huge part of the story for one character. We also see elements of emotional and physical abuse, as well as abuse and neglect and things with the foster care system, and also there is an element of sex trafficking in this as well, although that's not as huge of an element. But I did want to mention all that because there'll be some people who probably might not want to read that, or those elements might be a bit triggering for them. So I do want to mention that just in case that's not something that you want to pick up. None of it is gratuitous or super detailed, but it is in here. Well, some of it is. I guess the infertility is pretty detailed, and so is some of the emotional abuse and stuff and distress that comes from that. I feel like this book also has a lot of stuff that's so good about conflict in relationships, particularly conflict in marriage. And I want to read you this quote because it's so good. It says, marriages, relationships, they were made for leaning, not as an excuse not to grow, mind you, but we all need a place to rest and be assured. God puts people in our lives to have and to hold, to give this existence richer meaning. I don't think we were ever meant to fight life's battles alone. So that's just so good. And I have one more quote I want to read too. I was just talking about healing. It says, it takes courage stepping forward and healing when it's so tempting, so safe to stay and worship the altars we've built to our pain. And that's very relatable to me. There can be something that's so comfortable in staying, even if it's in a place of hurt. You know what to expect. You've been there for so long, and it's hard to make the effort to step outside of that and actually begin a healing process. It takes courage. And I just, oh my gosh, I don't have enough good things to say about this book. I cried so much, like tears of sorrow, but even more so tears of joy, like throughout the ending. I just felt like everything was resolved really well and really beautifully. There's such deep and meaningful spiritual truths in this book, and I loved it. It blew me out of the water. It far exceeded my expectation for what I thought more modern Christian fiction could be. So that's it for this reading vlog. I actually finished quite a few books during this reading vlog. I finished Persuasion, and then from start to finish read Snow White with Red Hair, The Black Pearl, and The Edge of Belonging. So I feel like it was a pretty good reading weekend. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. What have you been reading lately that you've loved? Have you read any of the books that I read in this reading vlog? And if so, what were your thoughts? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.